Uh, how we doing? Forgot that noise cancellation was on. What's going on, my people? So you are the man. Salute to you, sir. Let me know how the volume is, bro. Can you hear everything? Can you hear me? Are we good? Are we straight? How was your day, sir? Talk to me. The evolution will be televised. You've heard it here first, folks. The evolution will be televised. Excuse me. What's good, Karibo? Yeah. All right. How you guys doing today? So, I want to go over Itachi versus Byakuya. We're going to start off by watching some videos of Itachi versus Byakuya. We're going to get into some Gin versus Askin stuff. And just talk about some scaling stuff overall. Today I want to touch on consistency. And why consistency is important. We kind of went over it yesterday. And we touched on some very good aspects of it. Cut the beat. So, y'all let me know. Can y'all hear everything? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear the screen? Could you hear the music? That stuff's important before we start. Because if you can't hear that stuff, I got to switch over to like the actual YouTube stuff. So, you got to let me know what you guys can hear. Let me know what you guys can hear. Let me know what you guys can't hear. Can we see the entire screen? Can we see anything? Heard everything. Beautiful. Excellent. Where did I have that panel for Naruto and stuff pulled up? I think it was over here. Okay. So guys, I've been having an ongoing conversation that has now spanned and lasted at least 2 days. And it was a conversation that Karibo actually chimed in on yesterday on live. We're going over the actual potency of the Amaterasu. And this is where I want to get into like consistency and consistency scaling and stuff like that. Because let people tell it. Amaterasu as an ability, right? For it to be as hot as the user needs it to be, they need to focus on the thing that they're burning. And the argument is, whatever Amaterasu gets on that was not the user's intention will burn slower or at a less rate. It'll have a lower AP overall. Bleach is absolutely peak. That's a fact. So, you know what I can probably do? What I can probably do, which will be easier actually, is I could just go to my photos. But that actually might be too much. But anyways, what do you guys think about that? As far as the Amaterasu and how potent it is versus how potent it's said to be versus how potent we've seen it be. Because so far, it has only one really, really, in my opinion, good feat. And that's where Sasuke burns the 2 knives that were in Sakura for Amaterasu. Other than that, every other showing is less than desirable, I would say. So while I queue up one of these videos, let's think about that stuff. Byakuya versus Itachi. Now, someone said I should watch Diego's blood spray for this video. Aizen's World video is 18 minutes. That's a little too long. Anime World is 6 minutes. Diego's blood spray is 17 minutes. Alright, I think we can watch a little bit of both. Let's go with a little bit of both. We'll start with Diego, see what he has to say, and then we can move on to Aizen's World.
I do want to know how I'm getting my cut on this golf course venture.
The same way you make money off of everything, by doing absolutely nothing.
It's up to us to enjoy this life forever.
Itachi Uchiha is one of the first.
Alright, before we do that, actually. See, this would be hard because I don't know where my face is in relation to the screen. You know what? So for this one, what I can do is I'll use the actual thing before we start. We'll switch over to that. Yeah, we'll close that. Bring the browser over here, like so. Then we can interact this way. Alright, so yeah, because I plan on making my own Itachi versus, Byakuya video. But then again, if I watch their content, I actually might be too heavily influenced one way or the other. That's what I'm thinking might happen if I watch their video. I might be too influenced one way or the other. But then again, they don't scale the way I do, so. We'll start with Askin versus Gin by DBZ Isram. If you're just joining the live, make sure to like the video. Share with your friends. Let your friends know I'm live. Let them know I'm a cool creator, kind of. I do my thing. But alright, let's get it. And let's make sure the audio's good. Audio's good. Yo, Nin, my dog. What's goody, bro? Where's the actual... Okay, there I am. Cool. Let me make sure. That might be too big. Let's have me up here, the corner. Okay, real quick for Karibo. Amaterasu burns fire, makes metal vanish. The first showing is burning a hole in a toad, only stopped when hole was big enough for Itachi to leave. Yeah, so like I get that, right? I get that it has burned fire, and I get that it has burned steel one time. The argument, though, is consistency, and triple AP scaling is being as accurate and consistent as possible. So when we have those showings like that, we tend to do what's shown more versus what's shown less. Amaterasu, as an ability, has far more worse showings than it does good ones. First off, the potency of that toad is an unknown, right? We know it can spew fire itself, but all that tells us is that Amaterasu scales above regular fire that the toad can spit. We don't know how hot that toad can spit fire, but that's not even important, right? It burning fire, Sasuke's fire, is a good feat because we can get numbers for Sasuke's fire. We have numbers for Sasuke's fire, so it scaling above that is fine. But then we have instances like Sasuke burning Eight Tails, and Sasuke seriously meant to burn Eight Tails. Those same Amaterasu burn, those same fire marks on Eight Tails get on Kadin for several seconds, and Kadin is absolutely fine. Then someone tried to tell me today that Kadin has, like, she has regen, and that she can like self heal. I asked for evidence of this. I was provided no evidence of this. Not surprised though. That usually happens. So the consistency of Amaterasu is going to be very... I'm trying to think, man, because here's the thing. I want to give it to it. I really do want to give it to it, but the showings are just like really bad. But hey, let's get to the video. Let's start. You guys can let me know what you guys think about Amaterasu down below in the comments. Where's the interact button? Where is it at? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
Love to have seen, but didn't end up happening for one reason or another. One such example is the strategic clash between Genichimaru and Askin Naklava. These two characters are masters of deception as they hide some lethal abilities behind their calm and casual personalities. Genichimaru, the silver-haired former captain of the 3rd Division, whose smile masks decades of calculated patience, combined with his Bankai ability, which is able to destroy an opponent at a cellular level. Nobody had come closer to assassinating Aizen Dengin through his sheer cunning and misdirection. On the other end, you have Askin Naklava, a member of Yhwach's elite Sternritter called the Schutzstaffel. His laid-back demeanor conceals the terrifying Shrift ability to transform any substance into a lethal poison, including his opponent's blood. What makes this matchup so interesting isn't just their deadly abilities, but how their approach to combat clashes with one another. Gin's philosophy revolves around a single, perfectly timed killing blow, while Askin specializes in outlasting his opponents through adaptive immunity. This is a battle which asks the question, what will prevail? The rapid strike of a snake versus the patience to endure and adapt to anything that your opponent throws at you. Both Askin and Gin possess terrifying abilities which can end up...
Yeah, this is a good matchup, man. Askin versus Gin it's a tough one. Karin was burned. Karin's whole thing is the Uzumaki vitality. People literally bite her to boost their own healing. Yeah, I've been going over this all day, Karibo, bro. Like, here's the thing. Karin has to bite herself to boost her own healing, too. There's no evidence, nothing suggests, and nothing has shown that Karin, let alone Uzumakis in general, have an auto-healing function. If it does exist, please let me know. Please provide that information to me so I can factor that into the video that I make. I haven't come across anything like that. What's good, Red Hair? How you doing, bro? Shout out to you. But yeah, no, I haven't come across anything like that in the series as far as Uzumaki having auto healing and regen and all that other stuff. I haven't seen it. Damn, this is 32 minutes, but let's get it. We're gonna stop
in a single moment on the condition that they can just land a hit. So I'm really looking forward to breaking down this matchup, and we even have some commentary from Kubo, who had talked about this very specific fight between Gin and Askin over on his fan club outside.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Red Hair Kubo did in fact say that if Gin never exposes himself to if Gin's Reiatsu is never exposed to Askin, then he can potentially one-shot him. But there's there's a lot more that goes into it than that. That's a true statement, right? But I wouldn't use that in a fight overall because Gin is a tricky person, and I don't think it's in his character to fight like that. He did it to Aizen, yes, but I don't think it's his character to start off a fight like that.
So definitely stick around to the very end of the video so that you know Kubo's thoughts on this matchup. So without further delay, here is my complete breakdown and analysis of Gin versus Askin. Before the video begins, only 20% of the people who actually watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. So before we begin, we need to set the stage and establish the setting of this battle. Like with most matchups, this needs to be a neutral battleground, which doesn't offer too many advantages to either of the opponents. I think a pretty balanced battlefield would be the ruins of Varaveld. The Reishi-rich environment would benefit Askin's Quincy abilities, while the urban terrain would provide excellent opportunities for Gin's deceptive combat style, where he would be able to effectively launch some surprise attacks against his opponent. The ruins of Varaveld are made up of several city blocks, which gives both Gin and Askin a lot of room to maneuver, while also being small enough to prevent either of them from hiding for too long. In terms of the versions of each of the characters, we'll have Genichimaru at his peak during the Arrancar arc, just before he had attempted to assassinate Aizen. And in terms of Askin, it'll be the version that we had seen during his final battle against Urahara. So this is after the Ashvalan power-up that he had received, along with the other Schutzstaffel members. Again, it's safe to say that both of them would begin in their base forms, but would have access to their full transformations. So Bankai for Gin and Volstandig for Askin. So the victory conditions for this fight would be either to kill the opponent, completely incapacitate them, or to render them unable to continue fighting due to a severe injury. What's interesting is that because there is no time limit for this fight, it allows for both Gin and Askin to play the long game and set up their opponents for a fatal strike, which each of them have demonstrated the ability to do within the manga. Now let's go over a basic character summary of each of these individuals. Gin represents one of the most mysterious figures within Bleach. He was a child prodigy who had become the youngest Shinigami
so
to attain
what I think I'll
captain's
do
position before he had betrayed the Gote deck.
What I think I'll do is kind of skip the preamble and epilogue. DBZ Isram has a what's it called? He has an inclination to always go over almost every detail. We just want to know who's gonna win, like shit. What's good, Neo? How you doing, bro? We talking about Gin versus Askin, and we're kind of talking about Amaterasu, because I kind of think Amaterasu is extremely inconsistent, and it has decent showings and one good showing where it vaporizes steel, sure, but the vast majority of the Amaterasu showings are not good. But let's keep going. Well, I'm gonna try and skip actually. I don't know. I wish he had timestamps in here. Let me see.
Fascinatingly dangerous opponent who can end his fights in a single strike if he has the opportunity to. Gin's combat style shines in one-on-one situations where he can use his preferred strategy of misdirection as he then suddenly...
It's fine, we'll just watch the full thing.
The instantaneous nature of his Bankai's poison activation combined with his masterful deception means that even opponents who survive his initial attack may already be fatally poisoned without even realizing it. Contrastingly, we have Askin Naklavar. He is among the Vandenrijk's elite Sternritter, earning a position within the Schutzstaffel, and he stands apart as an anomaly, as he is the only lower ranking soldier to earn a position within the Schutzstaffel. Askin had followed Yuhabak out of a fascination rather than being devoted to him. He was drawn to witness the unprecedented ambition of reshaping Wickelmundo, the world of the living, and the...
Hey, what's good, twin? How you doing, bro? You said you just finished watching this one. You said you just finished watching this. I like GIF breakdowns. You like GIF breakdowns. I'm not sure what that means, bro. Come on. You know we old niggas. We don't know acronyms. Alright. That's, yeah. Askin doesn't have any impressive physical showings. By impressive physical showings, Kariba, what do you mean? Do you mean durability? Do you mean AP? Do you mean like stamina? Chaos. He said, I'm doing good, bro. Do you think Amaterasu can burn any of Batman's fireproof suits? Based on what I've seen? No. Let me stop. Nah, it'll probably like... the thing is, bro, it's just so inconsistent. It's not even like... It's just so inconsistent. It's just so... And then like, even for the Eight Tails example for B didn't even... B was acting. He was throwing a fit because he was acting. He wasn't even on fire for that long. yeah, red hair twin in here. He in here.
Soul Society. His laid-back demeanor and his tendency to avoid direct confrontation.
Oh, real quick.
Both his...
Wait until I do a scaling video on Askin. All right? He's faster than Tanjiro. He's the only person to survive Nemaya's one-hit kill. He's faster than Yoruichi. He beat Ichigo. Askin beat Ichigo. He beat Yoruichi. He beat Chad. He beat Orihime. He damn near beat Kisuke. The man is goated. Beyond goated, actually. Amaterasu is cooking most of Batman's gear. I mean, like, kind of. I mean, like Karibo, it really depends. What's good, Pac-Man? How you doing, bro?
Intellect as well as his strategic approach to
welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Make sure to like, share with your friends, tell them I'm live.
Makes him pretty unique amongst the Quincy, who usually possess high amounts of power and can aggressively overwhelm their opponents. Askin has a pretty interesting combat history. Amongst all of the Schutzstaffel, he was the only one who was shown to react to Nemaya's legendary speed.
Hey,
he was able to calculate and...
What'd I say? Well, okay, I didn't bring up the reaction time for Nemaya, but he survived the one-hit sword. And going off the consistency, Nemaya killed everyone with a single hit from that sword. Going off consistency.
Match the velocity of Nemaya's sword as he survived an attack which had taken out the other Schutzstaffel members. We know that things had unfolded differently within the anime, but this is how the Schutzstaffel were.
He said, turn it up. I got you, bro. Hold up.
In other combat situations, he was able to take out opponents who were beyond captain level,
that should be good.
Knocking out Ichigo and neutralizing both Yoruichi and Yushiro at the same time, despite their mastery of Shunko. His final battle in the story had pushed Urahara to his very limits. With Urahara, as you know, we're talking about one of the most intelligent individuals in the Soul Society. Urahara had no choice but to unleash his Bankai and
Asking tanked attacks from Yoruichi and Kisuke. Facts. Red hair. Didn't he step back a bit? That was why he survived. Well, that was why he survived the initial attack. He stepped back as soon as Oetsu thrusted. Then he's like, oh, wow, you were smart enough and fast enough to do that. But then Oetsu literally flash steps to him and slices his chest open. Yeah. That sounds good? Okay, perfect.
rely upon an elaborate trap which involved outside intervention from Grimmjow to achieve victory against Askin. What was even more impressive was that Askin remained conscious and was capable of speech even after having his heart physically destroyed. This demonstrates his terrifying resilience, which had earned him a position amongst Yhwach's Schutzstaffel. At the core of Askin's combat ability lies his Shrift called the Death Dealing. This is a power which complements his analytical approach to fights. This ability allows him to calculate and manipulate the lethal dose of any substance that he is exposed to, from conventional poisons to fundamental elements like reishi, blood, and even oxygen. Rather than overwhelming his opponents with raw power, Askin is able to turn their own existence against them while developing an immunity to their reishi so that his opponent's attacks have no effect on him. Within his arsenal of abilities includes techniques like the Gift Ball, which creates concentrated spheres of poison, and the technique Gift Bad, which reduces his target's tolerance to specific substances. Within his Volstandig form called Hashian, these abilities evolve dramatically. The Gift Ball Deluxe creates a massive field of lethal energy, while Gift Ring can instantly kill specific parts of his opponent's body. Most dangerously, his Volstandig allows him to adapt to changes in poison at their fundamental level, meaning that even opponents like Yoruichi, who are able to rapidly alter their Rayatsu multiple times per second, are unable to overcome his ability to develop immunity to their Rayatsu. Askin's tactical approach to combat makes him particularly dangerous, as he intentionally presents himself as weak or cowardly, thus encouraging his opponents to underestimate him while he analyzes their abilities to the fullest extent. His preference for avoiding direct confrontation masks his opportunistic nature, as this allows him to capitalize upon every small opening that he sees. Askin's blend of analytical ability, adaptive immunity, as well as his psychological warfare makes him an opponent who becomes progressively more difficult to fight the longer that you engage with him. So
I like what DBZ Isram is about. He's breaking Askin down about as well as I might have broken him down. He's giving him everything that he deserves, right? Askin as a fighter. It's like, yes, the longer the fight goes on, the more you're at risk for losing that fight. Hey, what's good, Planet? How you doing, bro? B used hitting Karin to get Sasuke to chop off his tentacle. The Eight Tails body left behind was still burned. Yeah, it was still burned, but the thing is, it was all an act, is what I'm saying. And it was a clone, so you can't really judge the clone's durability versus the real thing's durability. We know clones can go pop after a certain amount of damage, but it looked like B left a sizable amount of, or used a sizable amount of energy to escape that. Can Sasuke even use Amaterasu? Sasuke can, in fact, still use Amaterasu. I hate the fact that the vast majority of Urahara, Yoruichi, and Ishin happened off-screen. I feel scaling Gin would be easier if we knew how much of their power those three used. I hate the fact that the vast majority of Urahara, Yoruichi, and Ishin happened off-screen. I feel scaling Gin would be easier if we know how much of their power those three used. Mugetsu, enlighten me. Why would... Because I'm genuinely curious. Why would knowing Ishin, Yoruichi's, and Kisuke's power at that time be pertinent to Gin? Like, are you using them as the barometer to scale to Aizen, and to see how much they would affect, to see how much they affected Aizen versus they? Here's the thing, though. Well, I'll say this. That might be a reach. That might be a reach. I was going to say Gin. One way Gin could be. I was going to say one way Gin could be like confirmed to be stronger is the fact that Ishin was stating that he was hitting Aizen and attacking him, slashing him, and he didn't feel anything there, and his attacks weren't having any effect until he did his like gets good like point blank. Aizen calls it a good attack, but that can't really quantify that necessarily because Gin could have just tried it just to try his attack. Mayuri versus Askin would be one for the ages. Should be discussed. Oh man. That's such a fire battle. That's such a fire matchup, man. It's like it's up there with Kisuke and Mayuri for like the ultimate chess fight. Because for everything that Mayuri does, Askin's going to have to gain immunity to it. But then it's like Mayuri has a Bankai that can evolve with more information. So it's kind of crazy. That would be really fun to discuss, though. He said Mayuri versus Askin would have been too annoying. I don't know. I think it would have been cool. React to Seth's take on Universal Bleach after this. Alright, I don't even like Seth the programmer and his little menagerie of scalers. Not gonna lie to you. We can look at it, but we'll see. Doing good. Liking Askin's fighting style. You know, Askin is a beast, man. I'm ready to see what Kubo does with Ishin and Ryukin. Oh my gosh, bro. Yeah, he better... Because he had them show up early, so they better do something. But here's the thing. Everyone's almost already taken out. Like, all the fights are ending. So unless we get, like, a new villain or something, or they help with Gerard. They can help with Gerard. I don't see them interfering with Askin, because that fight is already, like, you know, he's already did too much. Mayuri would need prep to win, though. I don't know if he'd need prep. Mayuri has shown he can hold his own without prep a lot of times, or 2 times at least.
Let's now compare both of their abilities and powers. Both Gin and Askin have different approaches to their lethal styles of combat. Gin relies on swift, decisive strikes, while Askin prefers a gradual but inevitable victory by wearing down his opponent. Gin's Bankai allows his Zanpakuto to transform into dust for just a moment as it expands and contracts, and there is a deadly poison within his blade which dissolves and breaks down his opponent at a cellular level. He is able to leave just a fragment of his Zanpakuto within his opponent as he then retracts Kamishini no Yari, and he is able to dissolve this fragment of his Zanpakuto, enabling him to kill his opponent at any moment that he chooses. Contrastingly, Askin's ability, the death dealing, allows him control over the concept of toxicity, as he is able to weaponize virtually any substance from blood to oxygen. He achieves this by lowering the lethal dose of any substance which his opponents are either exposed to or they hold within their own body, like reishi or blood. Askin has the broken ability to make the very fundamental components of their body fatal for them. The poisonous effects of the death dealing work even more effectively the more of the substance that Askin ingests. This creates an interesting dynamic between Gin and Askin, where they essentially both wield poisonous abilities, but with each of them having a very different mechanism of action. In terms of spiritual pressure, both of them display Captain class or higher Reiatsu as it manifests in very different ways. Gin's spiritual pressure is refined and focused, allowing him to execute techniques like Shumpo with masterful precision. His control over energy reflects his fighting philosophy, which is a concentrated force that is applied at the perfect moment. Askin, on the other hand, demonstrates a more adaptive relationship with spiritual energy. As a Quincy, he can absorb and manipulate the reishi in his surroundings, potentially turning...
No one has a feat like this on this version of Ichigo except Askin. Let that sink in. Not a single character has a feat like this on our MC except Askin, and they put it in the 1,000 Year Blood War anime. You guys do know that Ichigo outstats everyone in the series, right? You know, he soft blitz Yuha. He has higher AP than Yuha because Yuha used his ultimate defense and Ichigo Getsuga Jushido that shit away. No one's doing this to Ichigo but Askin, is all I'm saying. Gin is just weird to scale. The fact that he completely blew a hole through third fusion Aizen is extremely impressive, even though he didn't know about his ability. I'm going to guess you meant. He was forced to evolve to survive. Yeah, no, that's a fact, bro. Gin Fate Katakura arc is extremely impressive. That one feat, and you can call it off guard if you want to. You can say that. The thing is, Aizen knew it was coming, number one. And number two, it means the attack was stronger than Aizen's passive Reiatsu at that time. Because you gotta overcome that to hurt Aizen. Well, any Bleach character, but you gotta overcome that too. As well as the fact that even when went off, right? Aizen nullified Soyophone's poison instantly. Couldn't nullify Gin's. Couldn't nullify Gin's poison. That's all I'm saying. All right. They could have came in help. They could have came in to help fight Yuha. Ooh. Yeah. If Ryukin and Ishin have some Yuha screen time, bro, you're the man that killed my wife, and then you're the man that killed my supposed to be wife. Oh, that'd be fire. That'd be great. Gin's Raw Reiatsu has to be top tier just by the fact his ability was able to work on third fusion Aizen. Facts. And technically killed him. Facts again. Which caused the Hogyoku to force him to an evolution. You said nothing but facts. I see people say, why didn't Mayuri find Askin's body and turn him into a zombie? I see people say, why didn't Mayuri find Askin's body and turn him into a zombie? That's a good question. That is a good question. But I don't know. Askin's heart was destroyed. None of the Arankar that were killed had their hearts destroyed. Askin's heart was destroyed. So I don't know if he could have been revived like them. To be fair, Ichigo was off guard and did not know what his ability was. we ain't doing that now. We ain't doing that. Because even in the anime now, Askin's like, hey, have you been training with that Monaco Osho guy? He's like, yeah, whatever. Well, why? Oh, I mean, you've just been soaking up so much Reiatsu here and stuff. My ability won't work on you. I'm going to have to tweak it. Which means if they weren't going at it, Ichigo either couldn't catch him, subdue him, or put him down. And then Askin had enough time to alter his ability to work on Ichigo. That's impressive. Let me see real quick. Askin has a better underbelly, not gonna lie. If you're talking about the ability that Nanana uses, is it a better? If you're talking about that ability, that's hard to say, because even though Aizen was suppressed and strapped to a chair, Nanana was still able to knock him out. But then that's more impressive for Aizen because that ability is supposed to rip you apart from the inside with your own spiritual pressure. So, question: do you think Dragon Ball scales higher than Bleach? A lot of people highball the living crap out of Dragon Ball, and people also downplaying it. What's your thoughts? No, Dragon Ball Z scales way beyond Bleach, in my opinion. I'm not one of those people that have a lot of series touching Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is just way too consistent with their showings and their feats, and stuff like that. No, I don't have Bleach over Dragon Ball Z. Say for Yuha. Say for Yuha and maybe Soul King. No one else is really doing anything though. Let's get back to it though.
Gin's own spiritual pressure into a weapon via his death-dealing ability. Gin's moveset appears to be deceptively simple at first glance, as it's just a extending blade in its Shikai form and a faster, longer-reaching version in its Bankai form. As I've mentioned, the true ability of his Bankai is to leave a tiny fragment of his Zanpakuto within his opponent's body, granting him the opportunity for a delayed attack, as he can time and activate his poison whenever he wants to. Gin's mastery over Kido provides additional options for him, like teleportation via the Kido spell Sentan Hakuja, which he had used within chapter 171. Upon initial inspection, Askin's moveset does appear to be more diverse as it follows a clear progression. His basic Gift Ball technique serves as an opening attack, while Gift Bad creates zones of decreased resistance which can transform the battlefield itself into a weapon, while in his Volstandic form Hashian, these abilities transform into even more powerful versions like the Gift Ball Deluxe or Gift Berry. This is pretty much a poisonous area which he constructs via interlinking spheres of Reishi. This barrier can be placed around his Gift Ball Deluxe, making sure that nobody is able to escape the boundaries of this giant poison sphere. He also has an ability called Gift Ring, where Askin is able to enlarge one of the bracelets on his arm as he fires it towards his opponent. As it gets closer, it shrinks in size before making contact with a specific part of their body, at which point it concentrates all of the power of the death dealing into this area, thus causing that region of the body to suffer an instant death. This technique was showcased within chapter 664 when Urahara's eyes were hit by the gift ring as they had burst open, leaving Urahara blind and bleeding from his eye sockets. Gin's combat ability revolves around finding or creating the perfect moment to strike, as one clean hit from his Bankai could end the fight instantaneously.
If you're just joining the stream, I'm your host Ab-Stract, and this is the Ab-Stract section. Make sure to leave a like, share the video, come into the comments, we're all friendly people here.
But on the other hand, Askin's power counters this approach through his ability to develop immunity to any substance or energy that he has been exposed to within a minute. This creates a lot of tension where Gin must not only land his attack but ensure that it's immediately lethal, while on the other hand Askin needs to survive long enough for his adaptive ability to develop immunity to Gin's poison. It's a situation where both Gin and Askin would need to fight outside of their comfort zones. While Gin typically likes to analyze and set up his kills, during this matchup he needs to consider striking at the perfect moment before Askin can adapt to his Reiatsu and develop immunity to his poison. On the other hand, while Askin likes to take his time wearing down his opponents, he needs to be very cautious from receiving a fatal strike from Gin's Bankai. They both possess a lot of unique powers and abilities, and with their tactical and strategic intelligence, it is key that they do not reveal their true capabilities to each other before the time is right. Now let's compare how each of them perform in physical.
Alright, let's see. I find it interesting that their bodies can be poisoned. I find it interesting that their bodies can be poisoned. Are you talking about Soul Reapers, or you mean spirits in general? If Gin had survived, I think his contributions would have drastically changed the way the first invasion went. I legit think Gin can beat the vast majority of Stern Raiders in a one-on-one fight. Oh yeah, Gin is mopping the floor with a vast majority of the Stern Raiders in a 1v1 fight. Like, the only ones I don't think he would beat, like, I don't see Gin beating As Not, because As Not also has like a extremely broken ability. But aside from As Not, he's taking on the Shoot Staffel. There's not a single member I know. Oh, my fault. Royd Lloyd and Lloyd Lloyd. Now imagine this. What if Royd Lloyd turned into Lloyd Lloyd? Let me stop. But yeah, Royd Lloyd and Lloyd Lloyd probably give him a run for his money, because they can just copy Yuha, or they could copy Yama, or they could copy Aizen. Like, you know what I mean? They'd give him a run for his money, obviously. But aside from those three, Gin is mopping the floor with most of the Ritters. I'd also like to bring up that Gin was toying with version 2 Mask Ichigo to the point he probably could have beaten him with just Shikai. He only used Bankai to flex. Yeah, no, I truly believe the only reason Gin used Bankai was because Kubo wanted us to see what his Bankai was capable of. He absolutely didn't need to go Bankai. Gin is so powerful that attacks that can really, really damage the Espada, Gin can take head on and, be absolutely fine. This is version 2 Mask Ichigo. Yes, by the way. So yeah, he was absolutely toying with Ichigo. Like, it was not even a contest. My headcanon is Kubo knew that Mayuri turning Askin into a zombie would have made him way too OP. It might have made Mayuri more way OP. I don't know if it would have been OP for Askin, but if Mayuri has Askin on his time, if that's what you were talking about, then yeah. You can't have Askin as a zombie and then damn near lose any fight, because Askin would, at that point, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Mayuri actually upgraded the zombies, so he would have upgraded Askin however way he could have. Like, Askin would have literally been like a frontline tank for any situation with his ability, and enhanced. Bro, some fans can't accept that certain verses are stronger. Dragon Ball Z is far stronger than the big three. Yeah, no, I agree, bro. I'm not one of those guys that have, like, I don't have a lot of verses over Dragon Ball Z. Like, you got to be like Anos del Hevia. Like, you got to be Shinra Bansho, man. You got to be Yuha. You know what I mean? You got to, like, Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of verses. Certain people in certain verses, yeah, but like the verse, no. The verse isn't competing, not in my opinion. I don't do that stuff. Triple AP scaling would never allow me to do any of that stuff. I saw someone just straight up make up abilities for Bleach characters and reply comments on your vid. What video was that, Red Hair? If you can remember. Asking out his art ripped out by Grimmjow, who is weaker than Haribel and Ichigo. Poison can be potency, but poison can have potency, but that is separate from AP. No, that's a fact. Poison can absolutely have potency, and it is separate from AP. But to see Karibo, the way it works in Bleach is your abilities will not work. See, and it gets really contentious because there's certain examples and stuff like that, right? But we take Soifon's poison, who was able to poison Aizen, or who was able to injure Aizen, but her poison couldn't actually do anything because he suppressed it, right? We have that one Arankar girl whose poison is so potent that it can actually melt things, like those steel columns, not steel, my fault. Those block columns, she could literally melt those with her poison. Yami had no issue touching her poison at all because he just massively outscales her. So I understand what you're saying as far as it scales differently, but it also scales to the user's power. The poison also scales to the user's power. Speaking of the Dragon Ball Z, do you believe that the death dealing would work on any of the characters and which characters? So my thing with scaling hacks is this. I understand how hacks work. I understand how they operate, but I can't have an ability work on someone extreme. I can't have an ability work on people that massively outscale that individual. You know what I mean? You need feats and scaling for statements to be true, for statements to work. And this doesn't go for every hacks, but it's very situational, right? Like, I'm not going to say, oh, Common Wee's not going to work on Goku because Goku's too strong. No, Common Wee warps space around a person. Yes, we get that. But as far as like, if we were to do like a Kyoka Suigetsu maybe, or even Askin's death dealing, it's like the scaling needs to be there. Thankfully for Aizen, it kind of is there because it worked on Yuha. But like the scaling needs to be there first before we can just assert hacks will even work. Because contrary to popular belief, hacks do have to scale somewhere. You can't have a no limits fallacy hacks. Askin's ability does not work on any and everyone to the same degree, to the same potency, to the same level. No, you need feats and scaling. But it worked on Ichigo, so we can scale off Ichigo. Just saying. Would the fear work on Gin? I think it would. Surely there's nothing as not fear can bring up scarier to Gin than the idea of fighting Aizen. I don't think Gin is scared of fighting Aizen though. I think Gin's fears would be centralized around Rankiku probably. That's probably what his fears would be centralized. And we can discern that based off of the fact that his whole motivation for doing what he did to Aizen was, he did that to Rankiku. So I think the fear would work. But the fear is in an interesting place because like you can overcome it. But this was a Rukia and a Byakuya who just had Royal Guard training. So it's hard to say. And Royal Guard training is actually kind of crazy. Mayuri lost to Ishida once and said never. Nah, that's a fact. Mayuri hasn't taken a single L since that. And if we want to be real, Mayuri was like holding back most of the fight because he wanted to capture Uryu. Like, yes, he declared he wanted to kill him. But this is after he already allowed Uryu to start using Ranso Tengai and stuff. The fight was over once Mayuri hit him with Ashisoki Juzo and paralyzed his limbs. That's when the fight was over for me because, he was beating up Nemu and stuff like that. So, no. All right, we're going to keep going, then I'm going to read some more.
Combat. Gin's physical strength, while it is often overlooked due to his emphasis on precision,
I'm gonna get
it
some water.
manifests in some interesting ways. In the series, he has been shown to physically restrain Kenpachi Zaraki, even if it's momentarily. This demonstrates a level of raw power that many wouldn't have expected from him, and even more impressively, during his confrontation at the gates of the Serite, Gin's Shikai extension generated enough force to simultaneously push back both Ichigo and the gigantic Jidambo, a strength feat which requires immense physical output given Jidambo's massive weight and size. Askin also has his fair share of impressive physical feats, which often catches opponents off guard. His hand-to-hand combat ability was enough to pressure Yoruichi as he was landing solid hits even before employing his shrift abilities. The real impressive part of his physical strength had come during his battle against Uetsu Nimaya, where he demonstrated the raw strength to withstand direct sword strikes which had instantly defeated the other Schutzstaffel members. In terms of speed and reaction time, both Gin and Askin operate.
Yeah, right here, Redhead is where Uetsu delivers the actual strike that's supposed to kill him in one hit, but he doesn't die.
At insane levels. Gin's speed manifests through his masterful Shumpo technique, allowing him to keep up with captain level opponents. His reaction speed is perhaps best demonstrated during his fight with Ichigo, where he could track and counter attacks from an opponent whose speed had previously overwhelmed captain level fighters like Ukiura, Grimmjow, Byakuya, just to name a few. Gin's most impressive speed feat isn't in his own movement, but in the velocity of his attack, as his Bankai allows him to extend his Zanpakuto at a speed of 500 times the speed of sound, as it creates attack patterns which even experienced fighters will struggle to counter. Askin's impressive speed feats may be a counter to even Gin's Bankai. He was able to half-dodge Nimaya's attacks as he was matching the speed of what was essentially Nimaya's perfect killing.
Yeah, based off of feats, Uetsu might be like, maybe aside from Michibe, Uetsu's definitely the fastest Schutzstaffel member. I said Schutzstaffel member. He's the fastest Royal Guard. Alright, let's see. Speaking of, I answered that, another aspect of Gin, I feel people don't give him enough credit for his intelligence. Oh, you know, Gin is, like, Gin is one of those characters that, like, we know is smart, but he doesn't really, like, have any direct feats or showing us. Like, we know what's up with him, though. Gin fights with his eyes closed. Gin 3-0. Sorry, Askin. Gin 30. Gin 30. Twin. Hey. Yeah, bro. You got that. You're right. Gin 30. Lil Tato would be a tough fight for Gin. Lil Tato? Why? Can I ask why? Why would Lil Tato be a tough fight for Gin? Mayuri with Askin. It's raps. Oh, yeah, no. Like, Mayuri with any of the corpses of the Schutzstaffel, it's a rap. Like, imagine if Mayuri got his hands on Gerard's heart. Imagine if Mayuri resurrected Lille. It's bad. Would the fear even work on Gin? Surely, I think I already read that. Oh, am I reading stuff late? I must be reading stuff late. Yeah, these are older comments. It was a Damon vid about what he could reflect. The guy said they're immune to their own powers in Bleach. LOL, shit made me laugh. Yeah, no, I mean, immune? No. I don't think anyone is immune to their own powers. Like, we have examples of Yamamoto tanking his own flames and taking damage. Byakuya has a safe zone, so he doesn't, like, shred himself to death. Maybe, by immune, did he maybe mean, like, they can survive their own attacks? I don't know about immune. I'm trying to think of other instances. Where could he be talking about? I'm not too sure where he's talking about. Grimmjow is a hollow, which is a counter to Askin, plus he transformed, so Askin wasn't used to his AP. Oh, his SP, Special Pressure. I mean, that's true, but, like, the glaring thing there is that it was a sneak attack. Askin was completely off guard. He didn't see it coming, and he didn't have time to do anything but, take the attack. So question, is Soul Society Let's Still Uryu a Stern Riddle level Quincy? He was using Sclave Rai, which outside of Let's Still Uryu, we've only seen Stern Ritter tier Quincy use it. You know what? Being that Mayuri is like one of the only captains we've never seen train or has had implied training, I think that's fair to say. Now, does that mess up the scaling at all? That Mayuri from Soul Society has not trained since Soul Society? Not really, no. Because in his first fight with Uryu, like I said, he was trying to capture him. In his fight with Xylopero, he had prep time. And Xylopero wasn't like, he's not a speed demon. Xylopero was more hacks. And then his next fight is in the 1,000-Year Blood War. So it's really consistent with the scaling too. So yeah. I hate this 500 times speed of sound downplay for Gin. Bleach's casual light speed verse. Yeah, so, and this is where like accuracy and consistency comes in. If you're going to throw that in there, then what we could do, we could go to every verse where something happens to be inconsistent, right? And I talk about consistency a lot. For me, it has to be like multiple inconsistencies though, right? We could go to Naruto, 5 seconds to pain, because people have Naruto at light speed at the tuning exams, or I'm sorry, part 1, but they can't blitz pain in 5 seconds. Doesn't make sense, right? You wouldn't say, you wouldn't hold them to that standard of 5 seconds. You just say, this is either an outlier or it's not consistent for what the verse has shown, right? So when you look at Gin 500 Mach speed, it's not consistent for what the verse has shown. Askin already used it to affect oxygen against Yoruichi. Did I miss something? Accelerator could stop Goku, but characters like him barely get talked about. Oh, so he agrees with Mach 500. Laugh my ass off. This is hilarious. Yeah, so, I mean, here's the thing, Red Hair. DBZ Isram, he's not really a power scaler. He's more of a Bleach content creator, and he does good work, but I wouldn't call him a power scaler. He'll do versus battles, but it'll mainly always be in verse, but he's not like a power scaler. I do have a bit of a theory. I think that since Askin was only just promoted to shoot Stoffel before the invasion of the Royal Palace, I believe he was less nerfed than the other shoot Stoffel. Why, less nerfed? What do you mean less nerfed? Were the shoot Stoffel nerfed at all? Oetsu Nimai easily is the fastest. Not gonna lie, Squad Zero had the Quincy's beat until Yuha intervened. Yeah, no, Squad Zero. Oetsu is bar none, hands down, the fastest. He blitzed all 4 of them, and they could do nothing about it. They had to sit there and take it. Not for Askin, for Asnot. Are you talking about for the fights with his eyes closed thing? Because that's not really going to help in the fight against. Oh, yeah, no. You were talking about Asnot. Yeah, no. If you're talking about Asnot, bro, then, and I'm really behind. I'm going to try and catch up. If you're talking about Asnot, then yeah, Gin 3-0, bro. I agree, Pac Miller, etc. could stop Goku via him being protected by his Vector Shield. Accelerator is low-key weakling who can't fight without his powers that well in the shows. I know Accelerator, but I'm not too familiar with him. We'll get to it. Isn't downplay exactly. Kubo isn't clear about speed at all. And that's the first and only calc about speed in the verse. It's the first and only calc, yes. Well, I mean, it's the first and only calc by the author, right? We can determine speed feats from how we calc as power scalers, right? Like calcing Ichibe's 4,000 kilometer flash step, like, things like that, or calcing Stark or just calculating how fast Ukiyoto would have to be to completely blitz Ichigo's perception to the point where he couldn't even turn his head, he couldn't see a move. We can do our own calcs. They're all spiritual light, not actual light. Kubo just needs to clear it, is all. But remember, Red Hair, we went over this. Spiritual light is the equivalent of actual light in the Soul Society. Ginjo says everything in the world has souls, so spiritual light equals actual light. Facts, evolution. Because everything in this world created from primordial sea. Facts. Red hair. Ginjo said, okay, yeah, he just said it. Well, yep. Only instance we have seen being immune to their own powers is Toshido, when Songdu tried using Hidemaru against hollowified Toshido. And Toshido told him Hidemaru can't attack himself. Immune, though? Kind of, bro. Kind of. I wouldn't throw it in there, though. All right.
Strike, as this showcases that Askin has a reaction time which is at the very peak of the series. Both Gin and Askin are tactical geniuses, as they each have mastered the art of deception in unique ways. Gin's approach to combat adaptation is rooted in his extraordinary ability to read and manipulate his opponent's psychological state. During his fight against Hitsugaya, he deliberately orchestrated situations which had forced emotional responses, using Momo as leverage to create openings against him. When Gin had fought with Ichigo, it showcased another layer of his adaptability, as he purposefully downplayed his Bankai's capabilities in order to set up a decisive strike against Ichigo. Askin, on the other hand, has more of an analytical approach, as his battle against Yoruichi and Yushido had illustrated, as he was able to rapidly assess and counter their increasingly complex attack patterns. Rather than just reacting, Askin systematically builds countermeasures, like developing immunity to Yoruichi's constantly changing Reiatsu in her God of Thunder form. Askin's ability to maintain composure while also analyzing his opponents had earned praise from Urahara, one of the most intelligent characters within Bleach. Their pre-battle strategy highlights a lot of differences in their philosophy for combat, as Gin's 100-year infiltration of Aizen's plan is perhaps the most patient and meticulously planned operation in all of Bleach. He spent decades crafting a personality that could fool even Aizen's deceptive and manipulative mind. Thanks to this, Gin was able to learn the weakness of Kyoka Suigetsu, and he was able to exploit this at the perfect moment in order to almost kill Aizen. Askin, on the other hand, is equally intelligent and cunning, as he utilizes more of an improvised preparation style. Like I mentioned earlier, he tries to come across as weak or unimpressive, and this deceptive first impression had worked against Nimaya and even Ichigo and his friends. By making himself appear to be weaker than what he is able to gain a lot of combat data while his opponents underestimate him. This was especially effective against the overconfident Yushido. We know quite a lot about Gin's experiences and his combat history, as it spans all the way back to his days as a youthful prodigy, as he was able to defeat a third-seated officer as a child. Following this, he had multiple years of captain-level combat experience within the Soul Society, along with all of the time that he had spent deceiving Aizen. Gin partakes in high-stakes psychological warfare when he fights, as it forces him to develop an understanding of how to manipulate both the fight itself and the opponent's perception of him. While in comparison we don't know nearly as much about Askin's combat experience, what we do see is quite impressive, as he has demonstrated some versatility, having faced off against a diverse range of opponents. With him having survived an encounter with Nimaya, the creator of the Zanbakuto, with his subsequent battles against Ichigo and his friends, along with Yoruichi and Yushido, and then lastly against Urahara, it shows that he's able to handle multiple combat styles and adapt to various different powers and abilities. When it comes to their intelligence, it is Gin's calculated deception versus Askin's talent for systematic analysis. Gin would simply need to hide the true abilities of his Bankai, while Askin needs to understand and adapt to his opponent's powers. So let's turn our attention towards each of their durability and stamina. Gin's durability manifests in some interesting ways which often catches opponents off guard. In the series, he has demonstrated resistance to both physical and energy-based attacks. One example is during the Soul Society arc, when he had confronted Hitsugaya and he had tanked one of his ice-based attacks within chapter 132. And then in terms of his stamina, we see it in his extended fights like against Ichigo, where he had maintained precise control over his Bankai's complex movements without showing any signs of fatigue. Askin, on the other hand, has endurance which is just on another level, as he's able to transcend the very concept of what should be fatal.
I'm surprised he didn't mention him tanking Ichigo's Getsuga with nothing but his body. Surprised he didn't mention that. Alright, where are we at? So spiritual energy equals Kishi in all aspects. No. Reishi equals Kishi in all aspects. Ginjo also said Candice's arrows are slower than lightning. He said he couldn't dodge. He said he couldn't dodge without getting hurt. Ryatsu can have the same effects as the actual elements. Yes, but like element, when we're doing like the magic version of something versus the natural version of something, we gotta be careful. We gotta like, differentiate and think, like it has to line up. It has to line up more. Red hair. I'd also like to bring up when Rukia broke a hole in the wall of Adenyo's palace. Base Adenyo, the weakest spot, was able to casually dodge the light of the sun. Yeah, hey, red hair twin hates that one. He hates that one the most. Adenyo dodging sunlight, boy oh boy, don't get him started on that shit. He hates that shit. Yeah, Adenyo dodging sunlight is very contentious because the manga has a different portrayal than the anime, number one. And the fact that the manga doesn't have a clear delineation of how long these things take. But then again, if the author wanted us to see exactly how it was pictured in the anime, he could have did it. So it kind of depends. Kishi and Reishi are different, but in Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War Core 3, Episode 3, we see Soul King creates all things from Primordial Sea. Facts. Where's Twin? Come get your brother. He's acting up again. Laugh my ass off. That wasn't sunlight. The sky is literally fake. It doesn't necessarily have to be sunlight, though. The fact that it is a light source, like, yeah, the fact that it's a light source, it gives off photons. It should. Okay, you're just trolling, and spirits are forever with you. It is stated the sky is an exact replica of the real world. The sky alongside its celestial bodies. In Soul Society arc, Uryu moves so fast his shadow is still on the ground. This means he was faster than the light casting the shadow. Alright. So Mugetsu, bro, for me, for that kind of stuff, for me at least, for triple AP scaling, I cannot take that stuff into account. It's more narrative and it's more visual for the reader to like the author is doing that for us to see how fast that character is. I don't think outpacing your own shadow though is an indication of that character moving FTL or FTL plus, because that's what you'd have to be to outpace your own shadow, FTL plus. And it would kind of break the whole scaling for the series if Uri was FTL plus at that moment. But like I said, depending on who we're talking to, if you want to do that, that's fine. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I think Rock Lee might have a similar feat in OG Naruto. Nope, not accepted either. Can't use that one. Can't use it. The clap Gin made was from a Soul Reaper and not a human. Ooh, that's true. It would actually inherently be faster, just from the fact that it's a Soul Reaper. Yeah. You'd also be saying all captains are weaker than Gin as source, or all captains Gin as sources, and disregard Gin saying that Aizen, and disregard Gin saying to Aizen that he lied about the speed in Bankai. It's true. I'm not trolling. We literally saw that light novel has a Lost Notes has a fake sky, and that Ukiyoda versus Ichigo took place above the canopy. Yes, Ukiyoda did in fact cut through the sky, meaning it was a ceiling, and whatever light source was in there wasn't a sun, but it was a light source that gave off. It gave off light though, so I'm not really sure what the big discussion is. It did give off light. It doesn't necessarily have to be sunlight. It gave off light. Light is photons. And it is explained how Lost Noches functions. Bro, the manga told us. The Adenyoda feat is so bad. No version of that fight gets him to light speed. Adenyoda performed a common vampire trope, moving when Rukia looked away. I mean, that's still a good feat, though. I'm not gonna lie, Karibo. That's essentially what Minato did to that one fodder ninja. That's essentially what he did to that fodder ninja, to Rukia. The clouds did not move at all in Lost No Trace, and we never saw where the light source was coming from at all. That's kind of relevant, but the fact that Adenero compares the light in that place to the actual sun in the real world, that still gives credence to the fact that it operates or functions at least similar to the same.
To him. During his final battle, after
shit.
his heart was ripped out, he had continued fighting and even speaking. And then during his fight against Yoruichi and Yushiro, it showed another dimension of his durability, as he was not just able to endure the attacks but adapt and neutralize them by becoming immune to their Reiatsu, which was initially overwhelming him. Askin is able to weaponize the concept of endurance itself, because each attack that he survives not only fails to deplete his stamina, but it actively strengthens his position through his death-dealing ability to become immune to their attacks. His battle against Urahara demonstrated this perfectly, as the longer that the fight had continued, the more immunity Askin had acquired against Urahara, essentially turning stamina into an offensive resource. During this fight, Gin would be unable to rely on wearing down Askin, who grows stronger from exposure to attacks, while on the other hand, Askin's usual strategy of accumulating immunities against his opponent becomes dangerous against someone like Gin, who is able to deliver an instant death attack with his Bankai. This of course is even before Askin has a chance to adapt and develop immunity to Gin's attack. So we have now reached the peak of their combat abilities as we're about to break down their ultimate abilities. Let's look at their strongest moves. With Gin, you have his Kamishini no Yari, which is easily one of the most elegantly lethal techniques in all of Bleach. While he deceives his opponents to make them believe that his Bankai's power lies in its tremendous speed and range, the true power of this Bankai is revealed when he had used it against Aizen. Gin is able to leave microscopic fragments of his Zanpakuto within his opponent's body. He is then able to trigger instant cellular breakdown when this Zanpakuto fragment dissolves within his opponent's blood. Gin's Bankai was powerful enough to temporarily overcome Aizen's enhanced durability thanks to the Hokyoku, and this is just a sheer testament to the destructive potential of Gin's Bankai. On the other hand, you have Askin's Volstandig Hashien, which transforms him into what could be considered the ultimate survivor. This enhances his Shrift the Death dealing to such a degree that he can adapt to changes in the fundamental properties of any substance or concept that he encounters. His gift ball
Mind you guys, when Askin took his form Helion, or whatever he calls his, poison taster, poison of God, or taster of God, when he took that form, he endured Yoruichi's attacks for 1 second. Mind you, her Reiatsu changes 48 times per second. So when 1 second goes by, it's changed 48 times. He was able to get a infection from all of those within the 1 second that the time elapsed. Meaning that let's say Askin gets hit with Amaterasu while in that form. What will happen is, the longer it's on him, and you already know how I feel about Amaterasu, the longer it's on him in that form, or if I'm gonna say, if it's on him for at least a second in that form, he's already gonna start to gain immunity from it, and it will stop to work, and it will start to work less and less. Maybe I should do Askin versus Itachi. Maybe I should do Askin versus Itachi. That actually might be funner. Plus, Itachi's a sick man anyway. Yeah, that might be a funner fight. Alright. Regardless of how you view it, he dodged light. That's true. In the manga, he does dodge light. You can't lie about that. The exact wording used is artificial sky. Just because it's made from a different method does not automatically mean it is different. It does though, Mugetsu. The clouds literally do not move, LOL. The source of light does not matter. It is stated to function the same as sunlight, regardless of the source. Light is light. That's what I'm saying, bro. Light is light at the end of the day. I can never understand why people try so hard to disprove light speed Bleach. From my understanding and experience with Lightspeed Bleach, a lot of the downplay comes from the lack of statements, right? But then You'll go to other series like Naruto, where they will only have hyperbolic statements coming from the data book. Hyperbolic statements at that, from the data book, right? And they'll have less impressive speed feats, right? One Piece is in a weird place. You guys saw the video yesterday with AAA scaling, sub-relativistic, high-end FTL due to Kizaru's light not necessarily being light speed because it does have mass. But that's not to say it can't be, it's just not necessary that it can be, or that it is. Not gonna lie, by the time we hit Vasaloid Ichigo versus Illugiero, most of the high tiers in Bleach are FTL plus, let alone 1000 Year Blood, where Ichigo made a trip from the Soul Side to Soul Palace in 9 hours. Yeah, no. It's taking people 3 days to get to one side of the country. Ichigo's crossing a week's journey in 9 hours. Ridiculous. Doesn't Askin clap Gein's cheeks? Oh wait, why is Gein getting compared to Askin? Because we're just watching the video. JJ, Plus, I do think it's a good fight, to be honest. It's a good fight. Minato ran faster than either that shinobi or Chidori and Kakashi could strike, while also placing a Flying Thunder God seal on that shinobi's foot to teleport. Oh, wait, whoa, hold up. Karibo, don't do that. Hold up. Are you telling me that he teleported to that shinobi and didn't use body flicker? Because if he teleported, then that backpack feat is out the window. And it actually doesn't serve to enhance the speed of the verse. Please tell me he didn't teleport. Please tell me that was like body flicker. Doesn't Askin clap Gein's cheeks? In my opinion, yes. Because the thing is, Gein isn't going to automatically start off with his best attack. Well, they'll fight, and Askin will get injured. And here's the thing about Soul Reapers fighting, or spiritual entities fighting. Your spiritual energy can leak into someone through contact with your blade, or through your attacks. We see this a lot. Like when Aizen gets hit with Ichigo's Getsuga, he grabs his shoulder and says, your spiritual pressure, it's developing nicely, or it works well, or something like that. When Kenpachi versus Ichigo is going on, I distinctly remember, and I might actually go back and look, though, but don't hold me to this one, but yeah, Ichigo's Reiatsu is flowing out of Kenpachi. So Reiatsu gets exchanged during fights. So as long as Askin gets cut by Gein before Gein releases Kamishi Neo Yari, as far as the Bankai, Askin should win that fight. Askin should win the fight. Amaterasu, the worst Mangekyo ability. By feats, yeah, not gonna lie. Yeah, by feats it is. It's the most inconsistent at the very least, and it's done the very least. You might argue most people already know how to counter it, but at the end of the day, the showings are still bad. Like, the reason it couldn't burn a samurai, there's no reason why it couldn't burn a samurai. There's no reason that Gar was able to block it with his sand. There's no reason at all if it burns as hot as the sun. There's no reason Madara's armor didn't get completely disintegrated on contact. There's no reason that Kadin didn't get burned to a higher degree. There's no reason for any of these things. Itachi will light up Askin with a kunai. Askin isn't kunai level. That's your verse, bro. Sorry. Askin versus Itachi is overkill, lol. Don't give the Itachi Glazers more content. They already think he can beat Madara, lol. Itachi versus Madara. Hold up. Itachi versus... No, Madara's fucking up Itachi. But then again, Itachi versus Madara. That could be a good fight. Hard to say. The Itachi fanboys would be mad if Itachi loses to Askin. Why would they be mad? Askin beat Ichigo! He beat Ichigo. How are you going to be mad at Askin for beating Itachi when he beat Ichigo? Yoruichi, Chad, and Orihime. Orihime can track Yuha's movements, Ukyoda's movements. Why are we mad at Askin for beating Itachi? This is duh. Light is light, except when it comes to Kizaru. Yo, you a funny one, bro. Mindo Foshin. Fashon. Hi, how are you? No, light is light when it comes to Kizaru. It's just that, Tay, we were saying his beams aren't necessarily light speed. You never heard me say when he does Yasaka Magata, he's not light speed. You never heard me say that. In fact, when we had that one conversation a couple years ago, I said he's only light speed when he's doing that. That's the only time he's confirmed to be light speed. And then he does the kick. And then like technically, when he said light speed kick, I feel like he was embellishing. The kick wouldn't have been at light speed because he was no longer photons at that point. He was human. He might have traveled at light speed and then kicked. But that's like saying Tobirama's sneak attack on Madara was an instantaneous attack. It wasn't. He teleported instantaneously, kind of. Like there's still time passes, but you get what I'm saying. He teleported and then thrusted, just like Kizaru did his Yasaka Magata thing, not the Sakamagata, his Yatamira thing. He did his Yatamira thing and then he kicked. So, yeah, no. What the fuck you doing, mofos? We chilling. We talking about Askin versus, Askin versus Gin. Honestly, furthest anyone in the Akatsuki getting is Zamari. I agree. Zamari, let me think. Let me think. Do they beat Ariñero? Who? Ooh, that'd be a fun topic. Let's run the Akatsuki gauntlet and see how far they get into the the Espada. We'll think about that. Man, where is Twin Laugh my ass off? This is crazy. And me personally, I never took Naruto as Lightspeed or FTL. Hell, versus Battle Wiki has adult Naruto at MFTL for no reason. Yeah, no, we I don't know if you saw Red Hair, but the first live we were going over why Naruto isn't a universal energy system. And the fact that he's in scale to his ninjutsus and all that other stuff. Him being FTL primarily comes from data books. It primarily comes from data books, and then they take, in versus Battle Wiki, they take the chakra-based thing as the real thing. That's what they do in versus Battle Wiki. Saying dodged light carries implications. Ariñero avoided the light by staying in the shadows. He didn't outrun light rays. Well, in the manga, he did. Because if the light touched him, he would have reverted back to his original form. He didn't race light, but in the manga, he does dodge it. O-Twin is cooking. Light is light when it comes to when it comes to Campfire and Bleach, but light isn't light when Luffy is cool. Yo, y'all gotta chill, Mo. Listen, my man Sage broke it down perfectly. Light is massless. Massless. His light was able to move things, implying that it has mass. Meaning, not saying it can't be light speed. It's just not necessarily light speed. It doesn't have to be true that it's light speed. Y'all are yapping. All right, let's finish this video up, then I'll read some comments. Come on. Play with me.
Deluxe creates an inescapable domain of death,
I'm gonna
while
get some
Gift
food.
Ring concentrates all of his lethal potential into a single, powerful, unavoidable attack, which results in instant death to any body part that he chooses. Perhaps what's most terrifying about his whole